Chapter 2. The Seas Run Blue with Blood. Cape Malea.
"What are they?"
Theracles asked.
"How will we stop them?"
No one answered him. They bleed, they die. That's enough for me, Aros finally replied, pacing the ship's edge. Oars tucked in, and Spartans abandoned the rowing spots as openings slammed closed. The constant shift of soldiers arriving from below added to the rocking of the mild waves. As if the gods felt the situation were too easy, rain began trickling down with the arriving storm. The dim overhang turned dark, with only flashes of lightning illuminating the gloom. Polished bronze reflected the crackling skies, and for brief instances, Aros could peer into the depths. When they glanced further out, the entire unit could see the swarm of creatures swimming directly toward the fleet. Aros watched the trails of wake fixate on one ship and one ship only. His. He grinned, slamming the dory's shaft into his shield in greeting. "Ruha!" the army bellowed, eager for battle. Again, he slammed his spear against his shield with 2 loud taps this time. The signal, while minor, meant a lot. The second tap told his troops to avoid overextending for glory. Of course, they knew if they went too far, they'd end up in the sea, and since they were laden with armor, Poseidon would claim them. "Ruha!" the battle grunts reverberated through his very soul. "Signal consolidation!" he commanded. Spartans and those Athenians on board formed a single wall facing the sea. In the middle of the ship, 8 sailors managed each Spartan's sails. The worn and coarse linen snapped open, with the storm bringing gusts of wind. A lurch in the ship and a spin on the rudder sent them on a kissing course with the Athens command vessel. Hoplite heavy infantry stood watch at the rails, unafraid and resolute. They never closed the distance in time. When the abominations soared out of the water, the Spartans braced, timed their trajectories, and lanced their spears forward with uncoordinated grunts. Aros stood shoulder to shoulder with his comrades, ready to strike. It was at this point that he managed to get a good look at the enemy. The creatures' faces resembled a shark's mouth. Their splayed fingers ended in long claws with curved tips. Their lower limbs transitioned from ankles into extra-wide webbed feet that helped in swimming, but hindered in climbing. Their mass was lighter than a man, their height only reaching a common man's nipples, and their beady eyes reminded him of a feral animal. Up they climbed, up they jumped right into the waiting soldiers of Greece. Glinting tip of his dory sunk into a monster's face. Spittle splashed onto his cheek, washed down by the increasing rain. He shoved his shield forward with precision while he yanked the dory back. The dead creature crashed against the bronze. The tip of the dory exited the flesh, and the monster splashed into the turbulent water. Claws screeched across the wooden hull with an intense grating. Monsters by the dozens crawled up the sides of the Spartan flagship. Aros stabbed down with his spear, the tip piercing between the creature's eyes. The softer skull let the tip sink in deeply with a rapid extraction. He spared a moment to assess the situation as a commander. The Lokagos of their other ships ordered their oars out, making all haste to aid the fight. Along the tip of the flagship, Spartans jabbed their dories down without a battle beat being chanted. Aros didn't order a uniform attack, not seeing the purpose. If the lower officers felt like their smaller units needed a cadence, he didn't override their decision. A dozen paces away, Long Wake spoke of a second breaching attempt. "One step back! Brace!" Aros bellowed as loudly as he could. A Salpinx echoed his command, and as one, the Spartans retreated from the edge. The second wave of suicidal monsters surged out of the water with enough momentum to clear the ship's edge. "Kill!" Aros bellowed. Spear tips punched through the tough aquatic flesh until the enemy impaled themselves, ear-piercing cries of agony rattling through his helm. Aros grinned with glee as hot blue blood coated his cheek. When a creature managed to jump over the nearby rail, he kicked forward until his sandaled foot cracked against the creature's ribs. The monster's chest caved from the blunt force. Another hard shove with his foot sent the dying beast under the railing, and it left the battle as quickly as it had appeared. "Sparta!" Aros bellowed. "Kill!" the men replied. Dories pierced into the monsters. Advance! Sandaled feet slammed into the decking one step forward. Spartans pushed the dead creatures, and even some who still lived with spears in their bodies until they dropped into the sea below. It was better to lose a dory than to lose a cherished citizen. Those who tossed their spears down whipped out their hifos. The slightly curved iron blades reflected the flash of lightning, always letting the enemy know that soon they'd join Hades. Men of war grinned with madness, hungering for blood. Enemies who flung themselves upon the sharpened edges of Spartan weapons were always welcomed. Aros gored a monster in the neck with a precise thrust. To his left, Iglos struggled to free his weapon from a creature he impaled. Aros flipped his dory with a deft twirl, caught it so the butt end lined up with his foe, and drove the creature off his ally's weapon. "Sparta!" Aros cried out. "Kill!" Blue blood coated the decking, draining off the sides until it slicked the ocean's surface. The storm grew darker with a gusting swirl. A random monster tried to leap over a Spartan on the opposite side. Aros caught the motion and hurled his dory right through the creature's guts. The power of the blow sent the monster flying backwards until it splashed into the depths. His short sword sang when he tore it from his sheath, and he readied to hack at the next audacious monster. A calm quieted the sea. No foes remained to assail their ship, and those who lurked dove into the depths. A flash of warm sun coated his armor, betraying the savage nature of the squall. When Aros glanced up, he saw their ship rested in the eye of the storm. Dark black rain encircled them, cutting off the fleet from any prying eyes upon the distant shore. The serene and out-of-this-world situation suddenly made sense when the water boiled, not even 100 paces away. A gray-haired man the size of a titan rapidly rose from the sea. His long beard, flowing locks, and immense triple-barbed trident shone in the sun's rays. Poseidon's genuine smile made his appearance that much harder to accept. Aros snorted, watching Iglos toss a corpse into the sea. "I just killed merfolk from legends. Why shouldn't a god rise before me?" "Well done, you magnificent warriors. Even the Athenians helped," Poseidon said, with warm praise in his booming voice. A trireme with an owl on its sail gently smacked into the port side, sliding into a boarding touch only a master crew could manage. Poseidon had a point. The one ship became 2, and moments later it'd be 6 ships fighting in unison. Aros grunted, impressed by their ability to sail. He strode to the front of the ship, walking to talk to the god without fear or concern. If Poseidon killed him for his insolence, he'd be remembered throughout history as the rumored son of Ares who stood defiant against the god. "I am Ram Eros, son of Nun, born in ram's blood and victor of every battle I've engaged in. What purpose do the gods have to assail us with their creations?" Aros's voice boomed across the sea. "We all have fathers. Yours is not Ares. Or is it?" Poseidon teased. He laughed and slapped a thigh as if he'd told the funniest joke in the world. "I miss this period in time, where men stood proud, unafraid, and lethal without reliance on their magics." All around Aros, the fierce men frowned, struggling to process his insinuations and hidden meanings. "Why are you here, O great god of the sea?" Aros asked. Poseidon shrunk in gradual increments as he approached Aros's position. While he shrank, something magical happened. Wood from sunken ships of old splashed onto the deck. The sections of wood clattered together until a table with chairs awaited them near the main mast. The god surged forward, riding a wave and turning into the size of a man just as he hopped onto the deck with a light coating of water. Poseidon calmly walked by the warriors before he plopped into a seat. A casual gesture told them to sit, and Aros frowned at the concept of sharing a table with a god. "We have something to discuss, and instead of shouting, how about we talk as warriors?" Poseidon offered. Aros opened and closed his mouth, not sure how to respond. I promise, you're going to want to hear what I have to say. Aros nodded, removing his helmet to stick to the customs of negotiation. He hesitantly walked to sit at the table and found himself eager to hear what secrets Poseidon held.